Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name's Tim Graham from hotspotting.com.au, and I'm delighted to be your host for today's webinar entitled Turning Assets into Retirement Income. A little housekeeping before we get started. Today's session will run for roughly 45 minutes, and we'll have about 15 minutes at the end for questions. You're welcome to ask questions throughout the webinar just by simply typing into the Q&A section on the bottom, or if you are watching on Facebook Live, simply make some comments on there, and we will endeavour to get to as many of your questions as possible. If we still have some left over, we will come back to you after the webinar concludes. But now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce our guest for the webinar this afternoon, Sam Wakefield. Sam is one of the proud owners of Optalife Financial Services, a lifestyle and goal-driven financial services firm. Sam and Optalife pride themselves on providing life-changing advice through their unique and personalised approach. Optalife believe education is a key ingredient to a successful financial future, and they work very closely with their clients to ensure they understand their financial journey. Sam comes with over 13 years experience in financial planning, helping hundreds of clients live their optimal life. So Sam, welcome to our first podcast and webinar together. We're really happy that you've been able to share your time with us today. And I guess I'm going to throw a question at you straight away. What does Sam Wakefield's optimal life look like?
Thanks, Tim. Really good question. Look, firstly, really excited to be here today and share Optalife's vision with the Hotspotting Network. Look, for me, living my optimal life is spent with my young family. I've got a 2-year-old. I've got another one on the way. So having the opportunity to spend as much time and energy with them is something really important to me at the moment. But yeah, having the financial freedom to live life to the fullest, to travel, to have fun, to throw in a little bit of me time when I can, get out there on the golf course, mate, have a beer or two. That will keep me a happy man and well and truly on the way for me living my optimal life.
Very good. Where do I sign? That sounds perfect to me too. Now, look, I know you put together a bit of a presentation for our viewers today. I'm really excited to see this. I think the world of financial planning, especially in the last few years since the Royal Commission has been, under the microscope. I think a lot of people think that financial planners just deal with insurance or maybe set up a self-managed super fund. But having worked together, for years with referrers, with yourself and your business partner, Gerald, I'm really excited for our viewers to see what you bring to the financial planning space, because it really can help anybody, no matter where you are in your financial journey, to get what I call financial progression. It's not about always retirement. I know today's subject, we're talking about turning your assets into retirement income, but it's about financial progression no matter where you are in your life. And I know that your team are fantastic at helping anybody no matter where they are in their journey. So
you're absolutely spot on. So
good on you. Now, do you want to do a share screen for us, and we'll kick things off?
I'll share my screen. Hopefully you can all see that now.
Yes, we've got you.
Great. So as you mentioned, Tim, today's all about turning our assets into retirement income. But I want to spend a little bit more time today really explaining who we are at Optalife, what we do, what makes us unique, and ultimately share with you the journey that we take our clients on. The journey that we take our clients on, we're not just a financial services firm that would specialise in someone that is approaching retirement. We specialise in clients that are really at the start of their journey. And I want to walk you through today 3 live examples of clients that we've been able to help live their optimal life. So I want to walk you through how we've been able to help our clients at the start of their journey, what goals of those clients come with, what considerations do we have for those that may be just starting out, and generally what a financial plan may consider. I want to then walk you through a real live example of clients that will say are on the road, or they're well and truly in the crux of their financial journey. So again, what does someone in that position come to Optalife wanting to achieve? What are their goals? What considerations and investment and wealth creation options would we look at for someone in the middle of the journey, and what would a typical financial plan look like? And then ultimately the end game is that retirement. It is that destination in sight. So again, I want to walk you through a real live example on how we've been able to turn a client's assets that they've built into a retirement income that has helped them live their optimal life. We'll then talk through some next steps. We'll talk through some considerations. We'll have some times for questions and answers, as you've mentioned.
Excellent.
Before I jump into the crux of it, unfortunately, just need to have a little bit of a general advice warning. So anything within this presentation today is general in nature. It has not been tailored to your personal financial circumstances or needs. As always, please seek advice on the appropriateness before acting. Let's spend a bit of time on who Optalife is and what we do. So us at Optalife, we have one simple purpose, and that purpose is to help you live your optimal life. The way we help you live your optimal life is we build a financial plan that clearly defines what your future looks like and lays clear and understandable steps for you to achieve. Now, we design a financial plan like a roadmap. We all have unique circumstances. We all have unique goals. We're all on a different path and different journey, and we're all going to have different road bumps, hiccups, changes come our way. So the financial roadmap that we will build is tailored to your specific circumstances, and it's what living your optimal life means to you. What we generally consider when we build a financial plan, we're ultimately maximizing all of the financial resources that we have available. So we're setting goals, we're making sure that we're doing the right smart money choices, we're building a cash flow and debt management plan, we're creating wealth, we're protecting our wealth. You'll see in the bottom corner all of the full services that we offer and we look at when building, developing and providing a financial plan. So ultimately, what do our clients gain from seeing us at Optalife? But more broadly, what do you gain from getting financial advice, or what do you gain when building a financial plan? For us, it's quite simple. There's 4 key things we want our clients to get out of a financial plan. The first is getting financial clarity. We want everyone to be confident in their decisions that they're making. We want to make sure that we're setting clear goals, we're working towards those goals, we're being confident about our future. We know where we stand. We know we're on the right path. We're doing the right things. We want to protect what you've built. We want to protect your lifestyle. We know, unfortunately, what life can throw at us. So we want to make sure that we've got the right protection. And ultimately, we want to live our optimal life. We want to make sure we've got the right clarity. We've got that confidence. We've got the right protections in place, where hopefully our clients don't have to worry about their financial decisions. They can focus on their optimal life. They can focus on having fun. They can focus on living life to the fullest. So that's what we would get out of the process when building a financial plan for our clients.
And Sam, on the goal setting, how often do you get clients that maybe don't even know exactly what their goals are? And when you do meet with these clients, is there a journey you sort of take them through to help them determine that? Because it's not every day someone says, what are your goals and motivations?
It seems simple, set goals and we'll help you achieve them. But look, it's a difficult thing. We've been doing this long enough that we know what most people at certain stages in their lives should be working towards. With that said, part of our process that I'll run you through in a second is how we really help our clients uncover those goals. Yeah. And the more we get to know our clients, the more we understand them, really helps us. But quite often it is, it's having a good think. It's trying to think of what it is to you. And that can sometimes help really define then the steps we need to take and goals we need to set.
Yeah.
So our process, what is the journey that we take our clients on when they first come to us and ultimately want to get financial advice? So the first step in our process is really getting to know the real version of our client, the real you. What does your optimal life look like? What does life look like, not only from a financial point of view, but from a lifestyle point of view? So we spend a lot of times really learning, listening, and understanding our clients. What are their values? What are their core beliefs? Ultimately, we want our clients to really get to know and understand us. I would love to say Optalife's the right fit for everyone out there, but I'll be lying if I said that. We need to make sure that we're the right fit for our clients are the right fit for us, and we can really add value to their situation. And the more we get to know them, the more certainty we'll have. Step 2 in our process, once we really know our clients' ins and outs, we know what makes them tick, we know what their optimal life is, we know what their goals are, we'll really then start to build and map out strategy options. One thing that we don't do is just go from an initial conversation to here's your advice and you must stick to it. There's a lot of research, a lot of education, a lot of back and forth that goes into building a financial plan. And that's what step 2 is all about. Understanding the options available, understanding the strategies available, and making sure our clients are absolutely confident and comfortable with what we're looking at doing. Once we're there, step 3, your tailored financial game plan. So your tailored financial game plan is that roadmap of your finances. It's the actionable items of what we take today to not only help you live that optimal life today, but how we can continue to live that optimal life in the future. So we'll set our recommendations, our strategies on what is the most appropriate financial game plan. Step 4 then is all about putting it into action. What's the point in having a plan if we're not going to take it out? So we will help our clients to put that plan to work. We'll do all of the boring stuff to make that plan a reality. We'll hold our hands, we'll help set up, do applications, all of those simple things that we can do to make that step 3 a reality. Once our financial plan's up and running, step 5 we deem as the most important part of the process, and that's making sure we keep our clients accountable and on track to our financial plan. There's a couple of certainties in life, and that is change. So we want to make sure our plan's evolving, it can meet any bumps or hiccups that come our way, that we continue to be accountable to our goals and on track to our plan.
Well, as they say, Sam, life happens as you're planning it. So things are going to come up and, circumstances change. So it's important that you do have someone there to help get you back on track at times too.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. So that's who we are and what we do. Now let's start walking through the journey of what we would take a client on. And the first journey I want to walk you through taking a client on today is those of us that potentially are just at the very start of our financial journey. Mm-hmm. So I want you to meet Stephen and Rachel. May look familiar to some. Stephen, Rachel, 32 and 30 respectively. They have purchased their first home. Home's worth about $850,000, have a mortgage of about just over $500 owing on that. At really the start of their careers, so really starting to build up a decent income, Stephen earning about 95 a year, Rachel earning about 110, about 87 combined in super and a decent chunk sitting in savings there of about 70 grand. When we look at their surplus income, they're saving roughly about $3,000 per month or $36,000 per year. So what would a typical client like Stephen and Rachel, and Stephen and Rachel, albeit a slight change of names, are a real life client that has come to us. What are the types of goals that we would be looking at for Stephen and Rachel? So the most important thing they came to us to achieve was wanting to upgrade their home. You'll see in step 4, goal 4, they're wanting to start a family within the next 2 years. So they wanted the bigger forever home to grow into. What they then really wanted to achieve was once they upgraded their home, they ideally wanted to retain their current property as an investment. And ultimately the game of that was to help them grow their long-term wealth. Lifestyle was very important. They wanted to maintain their lifestyle. They wanted to travel regularly. They also wanted to explore other suitable investment options outside of potentially retaining their property as an investment. And they wanted to maximize and better understand their superannuation.
This sounds like a pretty common Stephen and Rachel.
It absolutely is. So what we would then, for someone like Stephen and Rachel, with those 5 key objectives that we're looking at, what are the considerations that we would then work with Stephen and Rachel to understand? And what are some of the considerations and strategies that we would look at to build a financial plan for them? The home upgrade is a scenario that we deal with quite a fair bit here at Optalife. When we're looking at upgrading our home, we find a lot of clients really want to understand, do we keep that current home that we have as an investment property? Do we sell it? Really, what do we do? So what we look at with that type of goal is we really analyse the impacts on a client's cash flow position and lifestyle. So if we're going to upgrade our home, there's a couple of things that we're going to do. We're going to increase our home loan repayment because ultimately we're increasing our debt. So what does our debt position look like if we do upgrade our home? What does our asset position look like? Do we really need to focus for someone as young as Stephen and Rachel to really have an investment property at this point in their lives? And what's the impact on their tax position? Again, if we turn that home into an investment property, does it help or hinder their tax position? I'll take it a step further and say this is where, say, we've worked in the past, Tim, is, well, if I've bought a home, I'm generally buying a home because of the area that it's in. Is that home, if I then turn it into an investment property, going to be a suitable long-term asset to build and grow our wealth? So they're the types of considerations we would look at.
I think another one, Sam, as well, which would be quite common, is the effects of CGT. If it's an owner-occupier and you turn it into an investment, in the future, it will have a CGT component when you do choose to sell. Whereas if you were to sell as an owner-occupier to your principal place of residency, it is exempt of the capital gain. So that's another consideration.
You're absolutely spot on. And we do quite often see a bit of confusion with our clients. A 6-year rule is something that you've possibly heard of or understood. Understanding the intricacies of that rule and understanding the gains consequences if we do keep a property and buy another new property is really important.
Yeah. One of the big challenges in today's market as well is we have got such a low inventory that people are concerned when they do try to sell, how are they going to get into the next place as well? You might have had some substantial growth over the last few years, but so have the other markets that you're going into. So it's a big consideration. And, the more often you're doing this, the more stamp duty you're paying. It's not a cheap exercise by any means.
Yeah. And making a mistake when it comes to property is a really expensive one to undo for that exact reason. It is pretty expensive to buy and sell property, and it's a pretty clunky asset. So we've got to absolutely take those into consideration. Yeah. For Stephen and Rachel, cash flow planning was really important for them. And cash flow planning for the majority of our clients is going to be a key component of what we look at. So we help our clients to create achievable targets. We help our clients to build a set saving plan. We help our clients understand their surplus cash flow and what we should be doing with it. And in particular to Stephen and Rachel, what is that impact of starting a family that would have on their cash flow? But also, if we upgrade our home, we take on a bigger debt, potentially we have a greater amount of expenses. What does that mean when we might go down to a one-income household for a certain time period?
So that's a really big one that I've come across for many years. People saying, look, we're focusing on having children now, but then we'll look to get an investment property later. But getting sound advice early in the piece is so integral in this, because it's not just you might go down to one wage, but you're also adding a dependent to your serviceability, which means that your borrowing capacity is going to come back significantly. We can't do much about that into the future, and it only gets worse. You start getting into private school fees and all of those types of things. So I can't, stress enough how important it is to get that advice really early in life.
Completely agree. Some other minor points that we'll touch on for Stephen and Rachel is superannuation. So really for us, it's about aligning a super fund with our values and preferences. It's probably a question I get asked, what's the best super fund? Because the best means something different for all of us. So it's just about aligning a fund with their values, with their objectives, looking at fee structures, looking at returns. And we added in as an important consideration for Stephen and Rachel, protection. So what would a loss of impact mean to their financial position? What covers would they need? How would we fund premiums, etc.? So after spending some time on those considerations, how did their financial plan end up? So for Stephen and Rachel, living their optimal life consisted of, say, 5 key recommendations. The first of those recommendations, we actually arrived at selling their current home to upgrade their new home. We then looked at, once they were in their home, utilising that equity to buy an investment property. Now, one of the key reasons that this worked for Stephen and Rachel was around that family planning. The impact of their overall cash flow and tax position was actually greatly improved if they went this way than the other. One of the key reasons was they were able to put a bigger deposit on their home, i.e. their non-deductible debt. By having that bigger deposit, it meant their home loan repayment was substantially less, which freed up their cash flow, and they were able to use some of that equity and some of their available cash flow to put towards an investment property. And you're spot on. We creatively planned getting them into this property well and truly before that family planning started.
Yeah.
We set up a more... Sorry,
I was
Tim?
just going to say, Sam, the other thing that I've found with a lot of people that have, chosen to go to the opposite route is that they turn their home that they've got a personal connection to, and maybe they've raised family in there and all these types of things. Then all of a sudden, they've got a stranger living in their old home, and they're constantly freaking out about whether it's being looked after. The other thing might be if it's in a well-established area, a higher median price, the rental yield on that might not be the most suitable for them either. So there's so many considerations when you're looking to keep an existing asset and turn it into an investment that not always works in your favor.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on. I think, something that I'm sure a lot of the partners and yourself, Tim, you want investments to ultimately not have a lot of that emotional attachment. And you well and truly, if we've got that emotional attachment to a house, it can play with our minds and ultimately our financial plan. Yeah. So we set up a more formal cash flow and debt management game plan. And that's just really about maximizing their resources, reducing their debt. We established and diversified an investment portfolio. For these clients, we did consider a portfolio of ETFs or exchange traded funds. We looked at a small upfront contribution, and we looked at some regular ongoing contributions. We set up a new super fund that aligned to their preferences, and we set up a protection plan that helped them take out an appropriate insurance package, an appropriate will, and some superannuation beneficiaries. So that was the key things we looked at, highlight some of the benefits. And this is not specific just to Stephen and Rachel, but what are some of the benefits of actually reducing our home loan? A strategy of increasing your home loan by $200 per month could reduce your loan term by 4 years and 3 months, saving up to $77,000 in interest costs over the life of the loan. If we then utilise that strategy in conjunction with holding $50,000 in an offset account, we could further reduce our loan term by 4 years and 4 months, saving an additional $142,180 in interest costs. So my takeaway from that is we can start small. A simple change to our strategy can result in a really big end difference, and simply utilising structures and features like an offset account can also help to reduce a big chunk of our loan.
Yeah, a big part that I've noticed recently as well with a lot of people that aren't getting the right advice around refinancing, and they're pushing their loans back to 30 years. People are so focused on an interest rate, and getting the lowest interest rate isn't always the best way to pay off a home. In fact, we need to pay principal down. We need to be paying principal off, and we need to do that over the quickest amount possible. So the loan term, how long it takes you to pay off the home, is far more important than the interest rate that you're paying. So I think it's really wise. And I think that's what you bring to the table here, Sam, is you're not just speaking to a mortgage broker. I know you have that in-house as well, but you actually designed a lot of these decisions around what the end goal is. I think that's incredibly important for our viewers to take note of.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. Another quick benefit for Stephen and Rachel, or anyone at the start of their journey, is the benefits of investing. So a small investment of $5,000 into a diversified share portfolio with ongoing contributions of $300 per month could be worth just under $200,000 in 20 years. If we're in a position where we could increase those monthly contributions to $1,000 per month, your portfolio could be worth just over $500,000. So again, we don't need to start with really big lump sums, and it's a common misconception that we have. I need money to invest or make money. It's actually not the case.
Yeah. Sam, obviously, a lot of Australians have, a particular desire to own real estate, but for a lot of the younger audience out there, obviously there are other ways to grow your wealth other than real estate. I mean, I'm saying that coming from Hotspotting, where we focus on real estate, but I've spent a lot of time overseas in markets like New York and London, where people our age and younger, it's not even in their mind that they could possibly own real estate because the places they live in are so unaffordable. And I know, there's constant talk here about unaffordability as well. But it's really important that if you don't understand what ETFs are and all of these other different investment options, this is where speaking to a financial planner can help you grow your wealth and even grow your deposits. And I think it's a really important note to make, because any good investment portfolio needs diversification.
Yep. You absolutely spot on. And look, we are big believers, big fans of property here at Optalife, and I'll walk you through how we've built some strategies around property for a lot of our clients. But the benefits of something like an ETF, it's a really simple, easy, straightforward investment. In fact, we could buy an ETF that actually consists of underlying property. So we don't have to invest large chunks of capital. We don't need to borrow 800-900 grand to buy that asset. We can simply do it with some savings we've built up and some surplus cash flow. And the longer and more regular that strategy is, well, the proof was in the pudding from that example of how it could pan out. So that is Stephen and Rachel. Let's now move on to our client that we have on the road, or as we say, sort of in their middle of their financial journey. So I want you to meet Finn and Naomi, 43 and 41 respectively, young family, 2 kids aged 9 and 6. They have their home at about 1.6, their mortgage of 550, a really good income of about 300,000 combined, a decent super balance of 270, some money built up in their offset account. And Finn and Naomi were saving around about 4,500 per month, or 54 grand per year. So what did Finn and Naomi come to Optalife to help them achieve? So their goals were really focused around exploring strategies to build and grow their wealth in preparation for an early retirement. Now, we helped them set some time frames of ideally wanting to retire by 55. So we're looking at sort of that 12 to 15 year time frame respectively. They're really keen on building a property portfolio, but also wanted to understand other suitable investment options outside of property. And again, a key reason of that is what you just touched on, Tim, is that diversification. As a really decent income earner, combined, they're paying a lot in tax. So it was really important for them to look at strategies to reduce the amount of tax they pay. A young family, 9 and 6, schooling is really important to them, and also wanting to help their kids through university. Wasn't so much about funding their university costs, but just helping them live out of home if needed, helping them meet their kids' lifestyles while they're at uni. And from a lifestyle point of view, they wanted to put a little bit of money in their home, do some home renovations within the next couple of years of about 200 grand. And that's really important for us to know that that's a key goal. Lifestyle was important, although I haven't mentioned it there. Traveling, sustaining their current lifestyle were, again, really, really important things to Finn and Naomi. So what were their considerations when it came to building their financial plan? So essential considerations for us to consider when it comes to Finn and Naomi, or someone in a similar life stage and where they are at, is investments. So when we look at investments, we really want to focus on ownership. And that can be a really integral thing in the future when we start turning our assets into retirement income, is how do we actually own those assets? Because what could be the most tax effective way to own an asset today may not be the most tax effective way in the future. So we don't just want to look at the now. We really want to plan around, if we're retiring in 15 years, how are we going to use this asset today, tomorrow, but in that 15 years time when we really need to rely on it. Capital growth versus income. So for someone in Finn and Naomi's life stage, capital growth is our focus. They earn 300 grand a year. They don't need more income. We really want to focus on capital growth. Tax is really important for us to understand what is the tax consequence of owning that investment. What are the risks? As cliche as it might sound, I think it's really important that we understand the risk of any investment that we make. I find most clients that come to us thinking they've made poor decisions or thinking they may have not done the right thing, it comes down for them fully not understanding what they're invested in, why they've invested in it, and what's the actual risk of that investment.
Yeah. I think, superannuation is a great example of this, that it's out of sight, out of mind. People often don't know, one, their balance, two, what it's invested in, three, what it's costing. I think just even having these discussions with your financial planner brings that to the surface so you can actually make informed and educated decisions.
Absolutely. As financial planners, we love super, and I'll explain to you a little bit more about when we start turning our assets into retirement income, why.
Yeah.
Really important for us to consider our debt management. So if we're going to look at their goals of creating wealth, borrowing, to look at purchasing an investment property, what is then the important debt management plan? So if we're going to retire in 15 years, we tend to not want our clients to be retiring with much or any debt. So what are some repayment options that we would consider? What's the appropriate debt structure for not only their deductible, but also their non-deductible debt? And we would really help our clients set some tangible and achievable timeframes on when we should be paying our debt down. Education funding. And I guess what we quite often see with our clients that have goals of sending kids to private school or wanting to help put kids through university is, how do we fund them? Should we be funding that from our future cash flow? Should we be setting some money aside to help fund those things? From our point of view, planning is the key ingredient to funding education. So what we generally look at is some strategies that may consist of something called an investment or education bonds, which I'll touch on a bit more. Reducing tax was a really high priority. So how do we go about? What are the strategies that we have available to us to reduce tax? Borrowing to invest or gearing to buy into our property, generally one of the more preferred, suitable strategies for most of our clients. But there's other things. We may look at superannuation contributions, something called concessional contributions or salary sacrifice, where we can actually take some of our pre-tax income and contribute it to super. Still helps with growing our wealth, just through another mechanism that may not be personal property or personal investment. Anyone that makes an investment that has some tax deductions, like a property, or has utilized a gearing strategy, it's really important to understand what available deductions there are. And you'll be surprised how many clients we have come to us not being aware that they could actually claim a certain expense or a certain cost as a tax deduction. And also what we may want to look at, I've done a little bit of scrolling too much. Also what we may look at, again, where property can sometimes be one of the preferred assets, is that depreciation element. So how can we maximize any deductions like depreciation on assets that we have? So where did we arrive at to help meet Finn and Stephen's goals and help them live their optimal life? So we purchased an investment property. We borrowed the full purchase price using the home as security. I'm sure most of the audience is full aware on the benefits of property, so I won't delve too much in that today. One of the key takeaways for us from a structure point of view is we did have some money in an offset. Some questions that were raised was, do we use that money from the offset to go and put towards a deposit on an investment property? And it makes sense to do that. However, keep in mind that our offset account is actually helping us save interest on our non-deductible debt. It's helping us repay and reduce our loan. So we didn't want to take that offset account and go towards lowering their investment debt. We wanted it to help towards lowering their non-deductible debt, which is a key.
Not to mention, Sam, that equity in your own home, if you leverage that, is tax effective, whereas using your savings that you probably paid anywhere from 35 cents and above on the dollar, it's cost you more to get that money. So it's a hell of a lot more tax effective to be using equity than cash.
Yep, spot on. We've set some tangible goals on paying their home loan. So we set a goal to increase their home loan repayment to pay it off within 10 years. We focused purely on cash flow. We didn't focus on so much rate. What's the strategy? The best strategy to pay a debt is to not pay any interest at all. So really we focused on that strategy of paying and getting that down. We retained their offset. A strategy that we really like with some of our clients is what's called a debt recycling strategy. So we utilize the debt recycling strategy to purchase a diversified portfolio of ETFs. And I'll highlight how that debt recycling strategy works in a second. We did commence some salary sacrificing to super. I mentioned we love super as financial planners. It is an extremely tax effective way to build and grow our wealth, and we can get some immediate tax deductions. if I chucked 10,000 in superannuation, I can potentially get a $10,000 tax deduction. What we also did is we set up an education bond for each of their child. We did a small upfront contribution and we utilised some of their surplus income to further build and grow that education bond. For those that may not have heard of an education bond in the past, it is a child-friendly education designed investment vehicle. It can be extremely tax effective to invest in. When used to put towards education costs, it also has some really great advantages. And the reason being, any tax that we pay within that education bond, we may actually get back when we utilize it to put towards education expenses. So a really tax effective way for us to build and grow and help fund for our education costs. What are some of the key benefits that we looked at for Finn and Naomi? And I want to just touch on the benefit of the debt recycling strategy and how it works. We were roughly paying off $4,000 per month on their home loan. What we then did is we utilised that $4,000 per month reduction in their debt to basically purchase their investments or ultimately recycle their debt. So we used the home equity and increased the loan increased our investment loan, by the amount repaid on our home loan. So you originally took out a $200,000 loan. We had all of our money sitting within that loan, and each and every month we would take $4,000 out of that loan as our home loan reduced by $4,000 to go and buy in step 2 investments, in this instance, exchange traded funds. Step 3, we utilize that investment income to keep paying down our non-deductible debt. So we're continually to put any income that we make from those investments towards reducing our non-deductible debt. And we repeat. So over time, we may have a home mortgage at 200 grand. We may have an investment loan at 0. And over time, we've recycled that debt to put us in the same debt position, now it all being 100% tax deductible. And we now have an investment portfolio of at least $200,000. So again, we're building, growing our wealth while reducing our tax. You'll see in the bottom right corner, a strategy like this could actually save an individual up to about $5,390 in tax each year, based on a $200,000 investment loan. A really popular strategy when we may not be able to borrow large amounts of money to put towards an investment property. We can start with small amounts, and over time, the benefits of this strategy increase.
I thought I'd just mention for all of our viewers as well, if you haven't heard of strategies like this and you're wondering why your broker hasn't told you, it's because these types of strategies need to be approved by a licensed professional, and a mortgage broker can't give advice. It's really important to note that. So if you're looking for these types of strategies and wanting someone to actually plan that out for you, you need to actually speak to a licensed AFSL license holder like Sam.
Spot on. All right, I'll touch quickly on the last benefit, and that is just the benefit of salary sacrificing. And again, a key takeaway with this, a small amount can build and grow to a large amount in the future. So if we were to salary sacrifice $200 per month over a 20-year period, we could increase our super by about 80 grand. We could also save $900 in tax each year. You times that over a 20-year period and it's a decent amount of tax saved. If we increased a $200 per month contribution up to $5,000 per annum, that could result in additional super balance at about $170,000 at retirement, and a further tax saving of about $1,900 per year. If the average person had an extra $170,000 in super at retirement, you'd probably add about an extra 2 to 3 years for their retirement income. So again, a really beneficial strategy to look at. So last but not least is let's talk through now our clients with our retirement destination in sight. So I want you to meet Marcus and Sophie, 60 and 59 respectively, fully paid off home, which is absolutely fantastic. They had some investment properties worth about $2.7 million, just over $1.2 million owing. That was split across 4 properties. Each of those properties still had a little bit of debt associated to those. So the strategy throughout holding those properties was primarily keeping it interest only. One thing to note though, we got to a point where the banks no longer wanted us to have those debts interest only. So they had been slightly forced to pay down a big chunk of their debt. Income, Marcus earning 220 grand, so in the highest marginal tax bracket, Sophie earning just under 100, a really decent amount of property passive income of 123 grand, a decent chunk in super, some savings, some shares, and they were saving a decent chunk each year. So what did Marcus and Sophie come to us wanting to achieve? It's all about retirement for them. They wanted to retire on 100,000 per annum. That's net of any taxes, and well and truly, especially in today's environment, we wanted to make sure that was indexed with inflation each and every year. We wanted to minimize tax throughout retirement. We wanted to reduce our debt. They did not feel comfortable going into retirement having debt. We wanted to help our kids financially, and they wanted to review our estate plan. So typical goals that we would see for most of our clients that are at that retirement, it's all about our income, all about making sure we've got no debt. We generally want to help our family and our kids, and ultimately, the less tax we pay throughout retirement, the more income you have in your back pocket. So what are the considerations that we would look at for someone in Marcus and Sophie's position when we're approaching retirement? So our essential considerations are all around retirement income. And for most of us, it's what income do we need in retirement? And we will help determine what income that is for most of our clients. Unless we have a good grasp of our spendings, most of us may need a little bit of push to know what we need to spend. Taxation of income is a really important consideration when we're in retirement. We want to tend to focus on income over growth. Growth has got us to a point where we are now so we can retire. But how do we utilize that growth to give us that income that's going to meet, in this example, that $100,000 worth of retirement income? We generally want to preserve capital. Quite often, we don't want to take too much risks with our capital. We don't want to risk losing our capital. But also, how do we access our capital? Now, for property investors, we do tend to see a couple of considerations that we've got to look at. Now, if I look at Marcus and Sophie from a property asset component, it's actually difficult for them to fund their retirement with their current portfolio, primarily because we still had $1.2 million worth of debt, primarily because we were forced to pay that debt down principal and interest. So a big chunk of their income was actually going towards property expenses. Didn't leave us with a lot left over to fund our 100 grand retirement income. So what we need to consider is how many properties should they hold throughout retirement? And also, if we're going to sell, which properties would we sell? So we'll help our clients analyze the income yield of each property. Property can have expenses associated. Property can rent better in certain areas, as we all know on this. So it's about analyzing what actually is the strongest income producing assets that we have. Really important that we understand the tax consequences of selling properties, and ultimately, how can we reduce any capital gains tax? Now, we see this a lot. We quite often see property investors focus on buying property in the higher income earners tax bracket. And great, the benefit is we get those immediate tax deductions. If I'm in the highest marginal tax bracket, I'm getting a deduction in the highest marginal tax bracket. However, if now my properties are positively geared, or now I'm selling those properties, well, I'm unfortunately met with the consequence of having potentially large amounts of income now taxed in the higher tax bracket earner's name. So I'll go back to the slide previously on getting that ownership is really, really important. Super. We want to maximize this asset to its full capabilities. Superannuation is the most tax-effective retirement vehicle that we have within Australia today. But how do we maximize that to its full capabilities? How and when we can access it? Do we access it as a lump sum, or do we start what's called an account-based pension? And what are contribution caps? How much can we actually get into super? We can get money in pre-tax, can we get money in post-tax? But what would be the optimal strategy when it comes to maximizing our super? Why I say it's one of the most tax-effective retirement vehicle is an account-based pension is completely nil tax. As of a couple of days, we can have $1.9 million in an account-based pension. That account-based pension could earn you $100,000 in income each year. we could pull out $100,000 of income each year from that account-based pension, and we would not pay $1 in tax. It is a tax-exempt, nil tax environment.
Yeah, amazing.
Estate planning, wills, non-estate assets. How do we deal with each asset within our unit? Powers of attorneys, super beneficiaries. What do we do there? Tax consequences of estate planning is also very important. When we buy assets and someone inherits those assets, they may actually inherit the capital gain of that asset as well. So it's really important from an estate plan, when we do plan to pass our wealth onto our family and younger generations, is what actually would it mean from a tax consequence from them.
Another consideration, just thinking as you're talking, Sam, is I've come across a lot of clients in the past that have approached retirement and then, without getting good advice, have gone and sold assets like property and put it into superannuation, where they're heading into their retirement years, where they could have got advice to draw down on super, leave the property, which is going to likely grow at a much higher rate than what their super would in once you've moved a lot of that into cash in retirement to be safe. They should have been drawing down on super to live and keeping that property for an extra 10 years, because it's obviously going to perform far greater. So I think no matter where you are, and I think this is a bit of a summary of your presentation today, it is so important to get this type of advice early on, because you can make some very, very costly mistakes if you don't.
Yeah. Look, I think one thing we're always taught as financial planners is retirement, we can't make mistakes. We potentially don't get a second chance of retirement. It's something we hope to do once, and we hope we don't get back to work. And you're right, a mistake or a decision that we may not have made, fully understanding why we're doing it and the implications, can have a really big impact on our retirement. So I'll finish off on now how we helped Marcus and Sophie live their optimal life. So we actually sold 2 properties out of the 4 they had. Now, we sold those 2 properties over 2 consecutive financial years, and I'll touch on a little bit more about why we did that. We used the proceeds to repay their debt. So they retired debt-free. They had 2 properties producing income, and spot on, as you said, Tim, growing in value over their retirement life to really help them achieve their goals. We used the remaining proceeds to contribute to super. We maximised both our pre-tax contribution caps, and we took advantage of our post-tax contribution caps. We commenced an account-based pension. We were drawing down an amount of money from our superannuation in conjunction with their rental income to meet their living costs. We retained sufficient cash reserves to fund 2 years' worth of retirement income. I think something that we quite often overlook is if we need to access money quickly, or if the investment markets are down and it's not a great time to sell assets, well, we need a buffer. We need something to live off in that time period if that's the case. And we met with a solicitor to update their estate plan. If I quickly touch on some of the key benefits, is when it comes to reducing CGT, and I'll say this is a really good strategy when we have clients like Marcus and Stephen that we do need to offload or sell down some of our assets to give us that retirement income, is realising a gain in separate financial years reduces the amount of taxable income within the financial year and can help reduce overall CGT. We have a tiered tax system in Australia, so the more income we earn, the higher the tax bracket. So if we had an example of a client that sold, say, 2 investment properties that each had a taxable gain of $200,000. So sold 2 properties, same financial year, $400,000 as a capital gain. We would pay roughly about $160,000 in CGT. A strategy of selling those properties in 2 financial years. We settle a property on the 30th of June. We sign a contract of sale for our next property on the 1st of July. It can be as simple as that time frame. If we then minimise that gain to be $200,000 split across 2 financial years, the gain is $64,000 each, or about $130,000 in total. So a strategy like that would save about $30,000 worth of CGT. So really important to understand. On top of that, what if we took advantage of some super contributions? So what if we did a maximum concessional or pre-tax contribution to our super of $27,500? We could further reduce our overall CGT by about $8,000. Not only will we look at strategies around timing, we'll also look at strategies around, well, can superannuation or other ways that we can reduce our taxable income to help reduce our capital gain. Last thing we'll quickly touch on is retirement income. So for those that are approaching that retirement, what kind of income do we need? Now, according to ASFA, which is the Association of Super Funds Australia, a couple retiring today needs about $70,500 to fund a comfortable retirement. They advise that balance of their superannuation investments needs to be about $700,000 to achieve this income. From Optalife's point of view, we'd say that's a little bit low. What those statistics don't take into account is, what if we want to give some money to our family? What if we need to do some home renovations, upgrade our cars, do a really big holiday? We would generally want to have about $1.4 million worth of assets to achieve that. The benefit of that is we'll really be living then off the income of that asset to fund our retirement. Whereas according to ASFA, we would have $0 remaining once we're no longer around. In the instance of Marcus and Sophie, they needed a capital base of about $2 million to fund their 100 grand retirement income. And the good news for them, they were well and truly there. So that's the journey that we've taken 3 of our clients, how we've started, how we've maximised, and now how we've started to turn their asset base into a retirement income. We've looked at some goals that most of us would have in those life stages. We've looked at some considerations that we should be able to apply to our own position. And we've also looked at how we built their financial plan to help live their optimal life.
Well done. I think, for me, what you've put forward today, I think the really big takeaway is that it really is a custom journey that you take your clients on. For a lot of people, you say financial planning and you see the blood run out of their head and their eyes glaze over. But this really does feel, even though this wasn't me that you were talking to, it felt like I was engaged and involved in my decisions. And I feel like it's something that a lot of our audience can take away and should give some serious consideration to, because the earlier you get started with this, as cliche as it is, the better off you'll be in the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's really good. Now, Sam, do you have, we haven't got a lot of questions. I've got a couple in there, but I was going to say, do you have a page or something that you can show the clients if anybody wants to get in contact with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So,
sorry, I've jumped the gun a bit. Did you have the page? Sorry. Yeah,
no, I do. If anyone would like to reach out, you've got our website, you've got my personal email address, you've got the link to all of our socials there. So if you're on your phone, maybe take a screenshot or jot a few things down. One thing that we're going to offer to anyone that listens to or is a part of this webinar today, we're going to offer a 30-minute financial health check, and that will be the ability to catch up with myself, talk about how we may be able to help you set some goals, talk about what your future looks like, and give you some tangible steps that you may be able to take to achieve. Best case scenario, we build a financial plan for you that can really put you in a position to achieve your goals. So if you scan that QR code, that takes you directly to my booking page where you can book a complimentary online meeting to have a chat.
Very good. Thank you, Sam. So a couple of questions. I know we're running out of time. We've got about 5 minutes worth of questions here, but I'll start with the first one is, what can people do to get their super under $3 million for the proposed change to tax people with balances over $3 million?
Yeah, good question. It's not quite often we talk about wanting to have less money in super. It's really got to depend on what your situation looks outside of super. So superannuation, we're taxed at 15% on the earnings within our superannuation environment. So we can now have up to $3 million of money in our super, where we'll only pay tax at 15% on our earnings. If we have above $300,000, well, we'll pay an extra 15% tax. Now, if I'm retired and have no income producing assets in my own name, I'm paying nil tax. So it'd be more favourable for me to take that money outside of super and invest it in my own name if my underlying tax rate wasn't 30%. Now, if I'll say fortunate enough that I'm in the highest marginal tax bracket, those that are in it may not agree to that. If I'm paying 49 cents the dollar in any investment earnings I have in my own name, well, potentially I may not, or it may be more beneficial for me to have that money sitting in tax. But also things like a family trust or company structure could be elements that we look at. If you've got $3 million in super, I'm going to say, make an assumption that you're in a really strong asset position. A family trust may help with distributing income towards lower income earners in a family unit, or a company structure may help reduce tax. So it's a really good question, but for us, it's about looking at your overall position. What does your assets look like in your own name? What income are you earning? What income's the family earning? And how can we take advantage of distribution and tax structures to get that down? I hope that helps.
Very good. Now I have another one from Sarah asking for lower taxable income people that maybe don't have as large a super balance heading into retirement. Can you offer advice around the pension? So I think reading between the lines is saying, is it beneficial having assets going in, or sometimes better to sell them before you reach the retirement age?
Great, really good question. For most of our clients that are at the stage of Marcus and Sophie, and I'll say they're in a really strong position. We absolutely help clients that may not be in that strong position. And any Centrelink entitlements we're going to get throughout retirement are going to be a key retirement income strategy. So can we help clients with lower super balances? Absolutely. When it comes to our estate planning advice, again, Centrelink planning advice, education. What assets can we have within our own name before Centrelink pays us a little bit less? What income can we earn before Centrelink pays a little bit less? There are strategic strategies and ways we can minimize or shield assets from Centrelink legally that we can look at for clients. But I guess to answer the question, can we help in that situation? Absolutely, we can.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Another question I had from Lisa was if somebody wants to come to you just for some mortgage recycling, and I think debt recycling advice and mortgage advice, are they able to do that, Sam?
You absolutely are. So again, from our point of view, if our main goal objective is to look at a debt recycling strategy, build wealth, reduce tax, and that's all we want to focus on for now, we absolutely can. I guess my consideration will be, we feel we can add more value when we do look at more of that financial roadmap.
Yeah.
But hey, if we can help you live your optimal life just by taking advantage of one or two specific strategies, we would be more than happy to have a conversation.
Well done. Okay, well, look, firstly, I just, on behalf of the audience here, Sam, I wanted to thank you for your time today. I personally found that really informative, and I hope the audience did too. We did run a poll to ask how everyone found the webinar today, and a resounding 81% said very informative. So I think you've done a fantastic job to deliver on some value for everybody today. So again, thank you so much for your time. The only other question I had a couple of times in here was whether or not this webinar would be available on recording. Absolutely, it will. Anybody who registered today will get a copy of the recording later this evening, and it will be held on our YouTube channel. So last but not least, I just wanted to say, look, if you did take away any sort of value out of today's presentation, I would urge you to get in contact with Sam. I've worked with a lot of financial planners in my career so far, and the one thing I love about Sam is it is truly a tailored presentation. He lays it out in layman terms, very easy to follow, and I'm sure you'll get a lot out of that 30-minute free discussion. So thanks again, Sam. Really a pleasure to have you here today.
Thanks so much, Tim. And yeah, look forward to anyone that reaches out having a further conversation. Thank you so much.
Good on you. Thank you all. We'll speak soon.